Hey guys, Regina here, and as I told you, I'm here with yet another one of my favorite people in the universe, Lauren of Elle Company. So if you will, just kind of introduce yourself and tell us about what you do.
Sure. I'm Lauren Hooker from Elle Company, and I am a graphic designer and blogger. My site is a resource, or I hope it's a resource, for creative entrepreneurs in blogging, business, and design.
Yes, so I'm totally obsessed with Lauren because she's one of those entrepreneurs online who is creating like mind-blowingly awesome content, and then of course she's a designer, so it all looks extremely beautiful, but it's very, very actionable and fun. So tell us kind of how you got started in this. When did you know you wanted to kind of work for yourself and do this cool business that you're now doing?
It's funny that you asked that because I had always sworn up and down that I would never own my own business. After watching my dad run his business, he had a gym growing up, and I saw the effort and time and blood, sweat, and tears that went into it, and swore up and down that I would never own my own business. But after graduating from design school and freelancing for a few years, I really discovered my passion for working with other business owners. And so in 2014, I opened up Elle Company, and it started as just a freelance design business. And then I started offering branding services and gearing my business more toward creative entrepreneurs.
Okay, so what is the majority of your business income from right now?
Right now, I offer branding design services and website design services, which is where a large part of my income comes from. But I also have multiple streams of income. So I also offer e-courses, and then I have an online library, which is subscription-based.
Which is the coolest thing ever. So what's the motivation behind the multiple streams of income?
I knew that when I wanted to make the leap to full-time, that it would be a little bit risky to put all of my eggs in one basket in terms of just living off of income from branding and website design. At the time, I didn't have a waiting list. So it was a little, I guess, like risky. But I knew if I had multiple streams of income, I would lessen that risk.
Gotcha. So a lot of people would probably have the question for you, what is your favorite part of working for yourself? Do you work from home? How do you structure your day? I think that was like 7 questions in one. Let's start with, what's your favorite part of being independent now?
It's really nice to be my own boss. And with that comes a lot of responsibility. But I think it's also really nice to determine my income or determine exactly what it is I want to be doing and kind of make those decisions for myself, base them off of what I enjoy doing and what brings in the most income. And we were recently with some friends, and we were discussing home projects and cars and things like that, and they were talking about budgeting for the future and how they were kind of at a cap with their salary. And I was thinking, well, the nice thing is with me, I can offer another e-course or do something like that and just get creative. So that's another great plus.
So I was looking on your site recently, which I do all the time, and I noticed that you have a new class coming up. Will you tell us a little bit about that? Because I'm like super excited.
It's called Design Your Brand. And I noticed that one of the things that kept coming up through just blog comments and emails was that people wanted a lower price point for designing their own brand, or they just didn't know where to start, or they wanted to refine what they already have or add on to it. And so I wanted to make a course that was accessible and went through the basics of the design process for designing your brand. So starting with the inspiration phase, and then what makes a great logo, and how would you go about designing it? How does that translate into other brand elements in your website and your voice? So I'm really excited about it.
I am too. So you also teach an Illustrator course that kind of follows a similar format, I'm assuming?
It's a 5-week course.
Okay.
And it just goes through the basics of Adobe Illustrator.
Okay.
It's specifically geared toward bloggers and creative entrepreneurs. So each lesson has an outcome. So whether it's doing blog graphics or an inspiration board, or there are different learning outcomes for each week.
So for someone who is great with a computer and is very motivated to kind of learn things and do things on their own, and they want to just design their own brand from scratch, would both of those courses kind of be a good fit for them?
Yes, and we're actually bundling both of them together.
What?
So you start with the Illustrator Ecourse.
Okay.
You learn the basics, and then you'll already have those nailed down. You won't be as intimidated by the software when you go to design your brand.
Gotcha.
So we're really excited to offer both of those in a bundle.
You might see me trying to apply for the Illustrator course because I know nothing about Illustrator, you guys. I use Photoshop, and that is a little bit janky that I do everything in Photoshop. So
Photoshop's another great resource.
It is great, but I want to be legit and learn Illustrator. So definitely, if you guys like something explained to you in a very awesome manner, very full manner, and you love, her wonderful presence, definitely check out those courses because I think those will be super helpful for people. And I've already heard like people going crazy over the Illustrator one, so
I've been pleased.
Yay. Okay, so tell us a little bit about, I know I have several favorite items on your site, but what are some of your favorite portfolio items or blog posts that exist on your site for people to check out?
It's hard to choose a favorite. Each branding project is distinct in its own right. They kind of become your baby.
Yeah.
Hard to choose. But for blog posts, I really love some of the list posts, like 50 blog post ideas or 40 ways to use Adobe Illustrator. I really enjoy sharing my secrets. So I love explaining my process with my clients. How I design a full brand and website in 2 weeks. That's one of my favorites.
And it's so popular. People love that post.
Thank you. Thank you. And some of my Squarespace ones as well, just the tutorials and things like that. So it's hard to choose a favorite.
Yeah, and one of mine is I think it's 4 secrets for exponential blog growth. Yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, she does share all the secrets.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Thank you.
So tell us about, since you went full-time, what are some of the challenges now of running a business or maybe just balancing life? Like, what challenges do you know?
As a business owner, and you know this well too, you wear so many different hats. Right. So juggling it all and keeping up with not only my design clients and e-courses, but also emails and all the administrative tasks that come along with it. And just learning to outsource and delegate is really difficult too because I'm very type A. I pay attention to the details. I like things done in a certain way, which is good to an extent.
Yeah.
But it's really hard to make things work when you're putting it all on yourself.
That makes sense. So tell us then, too, about some of the challenges you experienced when you were going full-time. Would you have done anything differently?
Oh, yes. I know for myself, maybe this was me just being naive, but when I first started out, I thought passion was all that I needed to succeed. And I think there are a lot of people that preach that if you really love your trade, that you can just make it work. Yeah. That's a lie. Passion gets you started, and that's awesome, but you have to have strategy in order to keep it going. And I also bought into the lie that you work really hard to just kind of level out. Like, oh, I can't wait for the day when this just comes really easy. And my business-wise husband would say that when things get easy, you should be really worried because the day that your business stops growing is the day that your business dies. So you just have to keep plugging along and being innovative. And so, yeah.
So how do you organize your days or your weeks? What's your schedule like? I'm sure a lot of people would love to know that.
Like I said, I'm very type A. I love organization. And so having systems in place is really helpful for me, or having routines is really helpful. No 2 days are the same. They're very different with clients and just different projects, but I like to start my day the same, conquer emails as I can, set up posts on social media, spend a couple hours on design work, and then spend some hours on blog posts. And then also with my design clients, I have certain days for certain tasks.
Gotcha.
So breaking it up and compartmentalizing it in that way is really helpful.
That helps. So do you feel like your system is kind of perfect for the way you operate now, or are there still some changes that you're trying to make?
I feel like there will always be adjustments, and the more that I keep adding to my business with new projects or whatever it might be, I feel like there's always room for growth. Right now, I just feel like there aren't enough hours in the day. So if I could make that change and add more hours, then that'd be really helpful. But until then, I'm just going to keep adjusting and seeing what works best.
Gotcha. So what are some of the tools that you use now that you feel like I would not function without these?
Yes, my MacBook Pro, couldn't do it without it.
Yeah.
Adobe Illustrator, I work in it 99% of the time for design work. Squarespace for my website and my client websites. Coffee, if that counts as a tool.
That counts.
Caffeine, yeah, that's a good tool.
Yeah.
Spotify.
Gotcha.
Evernote.
Oh, Evernote.
Evernote's helpful.
Who do you use for email?
I use Gmail for email. So keeping my calendar in one spot and my emails is really helpful.
So tell us about, you've kind of grown your business relatively quickly for, what you might see online these days. What is the challenge of kind of keeping up with your own business? Are you like constantly having to do like visioning for the future and make new plans? Like, how do you even just keep up with your own growth in one sense?
That's a great question. I think, like I said before, my husband is really great at pushing me to not only work hard at what I'm doing at the moment, but to set goals for the future and set actionable steps. So we have some pretty large goals for the future. And so we've set smaller goals to get there. For example, our goal for reaching 100,000 unique monthly blog visitors. While that might seem like the large goal in and of itself, it's not. It's just a step in the process. So
Gotcha.
I guess, setting large goals and then setting action steps in between those.
Okay, so 2 more questions for you. One, I want to know what are some of the most effective platforms you found to promote your business online? And then I want to know if you have tips for people. But let's go with the first one.
Social media is awesome because it's free. And it just takes a little bit of strategy to get it out there. I think it's also really helpful not only for bringing people into your site, but letting people get to know you and your personal brand and getting to hear your voice. But yeah, social media has been huge. Pinterest, it does the work for me.
I know, she's crazy popular on Pinterest. Like you haven't seen it.
It's been really great. And really all the work that I've done on my end, of course blog posts, but the images in and of themselves, and then people pin from my site. And the more pins, the more traffic drives to my site. So Pinterest has been huge. Instagram is great. It's just harder to track people coming to my site. Twitter has a huge blogging and business presence, so I've been trying to up my Twitter game.
Yes.
But social media has been awesome.
So, and one of the keys, I think, with Pinterest is that your images kind of do the work for you. So putting in some time in the beginning to make a beautiful template for your blog post or your resources can really pay off in the end, as you've seen. So.
And once you develop your aesthetic and kind of nail it down, it doesn't take as much time. I remember at first I used to spend way too much time on my blog post images, and now it's like, 5 minutes, done.
And you're done. That's amazing. So if there's somebody right now trying to get into the same space that you're in, or maybe a similar space, or they just want to do business online and have some of this kind of freedom that you're talking about, what are some of the first actionable tips you'd really recommend them take with their brand?
I would recommend that they would sit down and develop goals for themselves and not just jump in and do what everyone else is doing, which is really common and really, I don't know, that's an easy trap to fall into, but sit down and think, how can I benefit other people? And I've been saying this on the blog a lot lately, but focus on drawing in an audience through blogging and marketing, and then try to sell them something. I think a lot of people want to come up with a product and then try to find an audience, and it's making it 1,000 times harder on themselves instead of developing an audience, getting to know them better, and then developing a product or a service that benefits them. It might take a little bit more work on the forefront to gain that audience, and I think that's where a lot of business owners may struggle, but the benefits far outweigh that.
So it's easier to monetize sold out fans of your information than it is to develop a brilliant product and then go, hey, where are my customers? Where are my customers?
Right, exactly.
And I've definitely seen that with your brand because you had design services, branding and all of that, and you were able to easily expand into these courses.
Right.
Obviously, your offerings are wonderful. You can tell that by just what you create on your blog, but it was very easy for you to go, okay, there's still something else that people need, and develop it and make it a profitable thing.
Right. And a lot of times your audience will tell you what they want. So for the Design Your Brand Ecourse, that was the decision was kind of made for me when I sat back and said, all these people are emailing me and asking me for lower price points or asking me for help with their brand. Why don't I design an e-course?
I love it.
So it makes it easier in the long run.
And I think part of like the wonderful thing about working online is that you're able to kind of just go, oh, they want it? Here, let me develop it and put it out. And it doesn't have to be something that takes forever once you already have that audience in place.
Right. It's kind of that launching before you're set mentality where, you can work on it as you go and refine it as you go.
I love that. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. I feel like everyone's going to be going crazy that they get to hear from Lauren today.
Thank you.
You're such a beautiful presence online, and thank you for having me in your workspace, too.
Thank you. This has been fun.
All right. Bye, y'all.
Bye.